Okay, so maybe.
Okay, now let us start second lecture by Omuri.
Okay, so I have quite a few things to talk about. So let me start right away. So I said at the lecture in the morning that for any complex manifold, we can define Lagrangian, which consists of del x square plus etc. And in fact, there are two types, A model and B model. And for which there is a Virasoro symmetry, which is Q trivial, and Q is acting on that. And I also mentioned that fixed point. For in the case of A model, are holomorphic maps. And in the case of B model, is a constant maps. So in particular, therefore, if you consider Q invariant computation, then that reduced to integral over target space manifold. Okay, so but I was careful to say that this is a symmetry of the Lagrangian. And so that's something that even mathematician can check. That you have explicit transformation laws that plug in and see that this is invariant. But physicists want to do functional integral of that, and sometimes we get punished by doing that. And one punishment appears in the form of anomaly. Anomaly means that the symmetry of Lagrangian, which we thought was a symmetry, will not continue, does not continue to be a symmetry once you quantize it. And so I don't have time to discuss that in detail today, but this anomaly is avoided if M is Calabi-Yau. Which is why physicists are particularly interested in Calabi-Yau manifold. And the good thing about having this kind of structure is that if you have that, then we can define a measure. So associated to Riemann surface with some number of incoming and outgoing boundaries, we can associate an element like this. So then we can integrate that to define string amplitude. Okay? And so that was the story that I told you this morning. Now, the first thing I want to tell you today is a deformation of string theory. And that comes from deformation of a corresponding two-dimensional CFT. And this is not something that I can derive from existing axioms of conformal theory, which I think this is one of the things that has to be improved. Segal's axiom is wonderful. I don't have a criticism of that. But that captures some aspect of conformal theory, but not all the aspects of conformal theory that physicists believe to be true. And so I hope that there will be some other version of the axiom from which you can derive other things that we know to be true about conformal theory, in particular about deformation of conformal theory. And so I cannot derive this from the existing axioms, but nevertheless, I believe to be true. And what is true in this case is that for A model, the deformation is in one-to-one correspondence with element of H11 of M, which, as I said in the morning, the Q cohomology of A model is given by this Holt-Drom cohomology. So this is a subset of that. And in the case of B model, it's in one-to-one correspondence with H1 delta of holomorphic tangent space, which again is a subspace of the bigger thing. So you may recognize that this space is actually space of Hera class. And then this is a space of deformation of complex structure.
What is TM?
Sorry? A tangent space to M.
And what is this Q?
Q. Oh, Q. Oh, sorry. I didn't write it precisely. So asymmetric product of tangent space. Holomorphic component of tangent space, to be precise. Okay, so this is a space of deformation of complex structure. So in fact, therefore, you expect that A model amplitude, so Fg. Okay, so I forgot to say. So therefore, you expect that the Fg to be some geometric object over moduli space of Kähler class in the case of A model, and the moduli space of complex structure in the case of B model. Okay, and something particularly nice happens when dimension of Calabi-Yau manifold is 3. In that case, what happens is that even when n and m is equal to 0, it's omega g. And remember, n and m are the number of boundaries that you have, or the number of incoming state and outgoing state here. So even if n and m equals 0, this contains top form on mg. So namely that you can assign, you can integrate, if you like, the object associated to Riemann surface without any external states. In particular case of complex dimension 3. You can define topological string amplitude for other dimensions, but then in that case you have to specify what you have, you put on these sides. But in the case of complex dimension 3,
topological case or in general case? This case, this is only topological case or?
Yeah, so for topological A model and B model, this is true.
Can you tell us why 3 is special?
Why is 3 special? Well, it has to do with the fact that the dimension of the moduli, complex dimension of the moduli space is 3g minus 3, which you can write as 3 times g minus 1, and you have this 3 here. And somehow, the 3 complex dimension of, in general, if you have n dimensions, then you get n times g minus 1 form out of this thing. So when n is 3, then you get exactly 3g minus 3 form,
Okay, in
so which you can
B
integrate.
model this is true, but A model you have a structure of the tangent space M.
This is true for both A and B models. This depends only on the central charge.
But the MGN is a structure of the data of the map, no?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that in general, what it says is that you define this, but this may be 0 if you don't have a top form on this moduli space.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that in the case with complex dimension 3, then without external state, you have a top form that you can integrate. Okay? And by the way, the reason that physics, so this is why this is particularly mathematically particularly special, that this 3 has to do, this 3 coincides with this factor 3 for the complex moduli space. For physicists, 3 is particularly nice because 10 minus 4 is 6. and 6 is 3 times 2. And 4 is where we live, and 10 is where string theory is defined. So we can use this particular Calabi-Yau manifold to use space that reduce 10-dimensional space down to 4-dimensional space-time. So anyway, so we want to understand this deformation. So let's discuss the case of the B model. Okay? So in the case of B model, the story is simple because, as I said before, the Q invariant computation reduced to integration of a constant map. So it's just integral over target space manifold, Calabi-Yau manifold. So everything is the equivalent, the same as classical geometric statement. So in particular, in this case, the story is a familiar story of deformation of Hodge structure. So we have a complex structure, moduli space. So for example, we can consider parameterizing it and defining metric. So the way to do it is you start with holomorphic three-form. We are considering Calabi-Yau threefold. Calabi-Yau threefold. So the three-form is top form. And then what you do is well, first of all, well, since holomorphic three-form is unique up to scale, so it defines one-dimensional sub-bundle of the Hodge bundle over a moduli space of Calabi-Yau threefold. And then there is a natural metric to it given by integral of this over Calabi-Yau threefold, and which I can call this as e to the k or something. And then I can define a metric. So this gives you a metric on the moduli space of complex structure. And then we can parameterize the complex structure by using period of holomorphic three-forms. So what we do is introduce, so I guess there is a saying in Japanese that what I say, teaching a mantra to Buddha or something like that. So who am I doing? Who am I that teaching these things to mathematicians? so you choose a basis of holomorphic three cycles, and then I define period integral like that. So all of these things must be familiar to most of you. And so in fact, Fi is not Fi and Xi are not independent with each other, but Fi's are determined in terms of Xi. And in fact, Fi is given by a derivative of some function x, which is a degree 2 homogeneous polynomial function of x. So you have something like this. Okay. So in particular, it's useful to consider, therefore, the ratio of x's as a coordinate on the moduli space of complex structure, since omega is unique up to overall scaling. So in a particular place where x0 is non-zero, we can take the ratio to use it as a nice coordinate on the moduli space of complex structure. And then, for example, we can take three derivatives. To define what we call Cijk, which is a nice object because the thing is that x and f is not a function on the moduli space because there's a monodromy on the complex moduli space. So therefore, f0 is not a globally defined function on the moduli space. But this is a nice object. It turns out that this is a holomorphic section of, so let's call it L, is a sub-line bundle of the Hodge bundle defined by omega. And then it turns out that this is section of L2 times symmetric tensor product of cotangent space to the moduli space of complex structure. Well, it's symmetric 3 tensor because of these indices, because you are taking 3 derivatives. But it's a section of L square because F is a section of L square. So, but all these are completely classical geometric story of deformation of Hodge structure in somewhat vulgarized version that physicists often refers to. Now, so this is a sort of classical geometric story. But it turns out that this story exists also in A model, albeit with quantum deformation. Because, so this was first realized, I think, by Cecotti and Buffer, that they considered basically the moduli space of this type of topological string theory, and discovered that all theory of this type have similar structure. So in that case, what replaces the Hodge bundle is a space of physical state, or space of Bialystic, a space of Q cohomology. So it turns out that in the case of a B model, basically this is the Q cohomology, but you can repeat this, and then you can use that deformation of that cohomology to define the modular space of complex structure and all that. But then you can consider doing the same thing for the A model, or for that matter, any conformal field theory of this type. So this was the insight of Cecotti and Buffer. And so we can do the same computation. We can define a similar structure in the case of A model. However, in the case of A model, the story is no more that of classical geometry, because here the story was classical geometry because the computation reduced to integral over target space. But in the case of A model, Q fixed point are holomorphic maps. So therefore, we have to, it's clear that some of the formulas should be modified in such a way that we have sum over holomorphic map. And indeed, so for example, in the case of A model, analog of Cijk. In this case, in the case of B model, Cijk was given by basically omega, which is 3 derivative of omega with respect to complex structure, integrated over Calabi-Yau manifold. So we have this integral over Calabi-Yau manifold because in the case of B model, things reduce to integral over manifold. But in the case of A model, it should reduce to sum over holomorphic maps. And indeed, it is so. So you get a structure like that, where Ui, Uj, Uk are elements of H11. So if we just have integral over target space, this will be the end of the story. But then there are quantum modifications to that. Where times, so I forgot to include, times n 0, n. Where when I write nt, I meant sum over I of ni, ti, and this symbol n 0n is genus 0 Gromov-Witten invariant for degree ni holomorphic maps. So in the case of A model, indeed, things reduce to, again, sum over fixed point of Q symmetry, but now the fixed point are holomorphic maps, so we have sum over holomorphic maps like that. And precise form of that Gromov-Witten invariant appears have been worked out by mathematicians like Morrison. It was conjectured earlier by work by Candelas et al. Based on analysis of mirror symmetry. So I should tell you about mirror symmetry. So mirror symmetry happens in the following situation, that you can define A model for Calabi-Yau manifold M. And in some cases, it happens that there is yet another Calabi-Yau manifold M tilde, and you can define B model on that Calabi-Yau manifold. And M and M tilde are called the mirror pair of Calabi-Yau if these two models are equivalent as quantum field theory. By that, I mean that the Hilbert space of the A model is isomorphic to the Hilbert space of the B model, including the way that it is decomposed into irreducible representation of the Virasoro algebra. And also the operator algebra on this space, on this Hilbert space, is isomorphic to the operator algebra on this space. So in particular, if that's true, then this computation in A model should be equal to this computation in B model. And computation in B model is easier to do because it's classical geometric and essentially reduced to the computation of period integral of holomorphic 3 form, which you can find explicit form like using solving differential equation of hypergeometric types. And you do that, and then you can apply this formula to read off the Gromov-Witten invariant. So this procedure was demonstrated first by Candelas and collaborators based on the first example of mirror pair constructed by Brian Green and Ronen Plesser. And so this was a rather striking result. And so I'd like to go on to discuss a higher genus version of this story. So in the case of higher genus, one can expect that we would have to consider, in the case of A model, number of holomorphic maps from higher genus Riemann surface to Calabi-Yau. And indeed, so let me write down the formula in the case of genus 1. So in the case of A model, the formula is roughly like that. Well, let me just write down the precise formula. So the formula is going to be that, of this form. So this is for genus 1. So it starts out with classical piece. Oh, by the way, in the case of genus 1, I can write the formula for any complex dimensions for some special reason for genus 1. And minus summation of n . Okay, so let me make a few comments about that. So this is basically the Chern class of the Calabi-Yau manifold M itself. So, and then omega, omega, I used the symbol U before. So U is an element of H11, the basis of H11, corresponding to the deformation of Kähler class over here. And wedge that with n-1 Chern class, so then you can integrate that over Calabi-Yau manifold. So this will be the classical piece. This will be the contribution from constant map. Constant map is of course an example of holomorphic map, so we do get a contribution. And so this is a contribution of the constant map. And then after that we have contribution from some over holomorphic maps. So this is the genus 1 holomorphic map. Okay? And then when we first studied this, we thought this would be the end of it. But then we computed this and then didn't get the right answer. So we thought that we must have made a mistake, and we talked to Sheldon Katz, who pointed out that there can be a actually degenerate contribution from genus 0, because you can have a holomorphic map from torus to a target space where essentially the handle part of the torus shrink to a point and the rest get mapped to Calabi-Yau space holomorphically. So indeed we can get genus 0 contribution. So this is actually the correct formula for that. And then, since we already know the genus 0 answer from this computation, yes?
What is n in the first time?
Oh, n, yeah, please. Yeah, I just said it in the word, but I didn't explain. So this is a complex dimension of the target space manifold. It turns out that in the case of genus 1, we can define F1 for any dimensions, because the complex dimension of genus 1, if I apply the naive formula I wrote, would be equal to 0. Although it's not 0, but it's actually 1 minus 1. And minus 1 refers to the fact that there is a translational invariance. So to fix that, I take derivative with respect to that. But in any case, it's sort of, if I consider the general formula I wrote before. If I plug in genus 1, it vanishes. Because of this reason, I can define FG, F1 for genus 1. I can define this for any dimension. So this is, I'm just writing the general formula for that dimension. I apologize for the confusion of this n with the degrees of the holomorphic map. But anyway, so this is a formula. So what the point I wanted to make was that if I compute the genus 1 amplitude, then we can extract the genus 1 Gromov-Witten invariant from this formula, because we already know this part from genus 0 computation. So how do we compute? Yes?
Where is 12 in the diameter come from?
12 is related to this Euler characteristic of the moduli space. So basically, you have that, but then you have to take care of this part. And that part gives you 1/12. 1/12. So if you have a way of computing B side of this story, then we can derive from that, deduce from that the genus 1 Gromov-Witten invariant. So we try to identify that part, and it turns out that it is related to the determinant of Laplacian. So to define that, first I would like to define Ray-Singer torsion. So Ray-Singer torsion is defined in this way. So suppose B is a holomorphic vector bundle over M, or in this case, to compare with that, I consider mirror of that manifold. And then we can consider the following thing, that we can consider Laplacian acting on omega 0p times B. And then define torsion associated with that as a product of determinant of Laplace operator with some particular weight. And it was shown by Ray and Singer that if I consider two different vector bundles and consider the ratio of that, then this is independent of Kähler class, but it depends only on the complex structure of the target space manifold. So it turns out that B model amplitude is a special example of that, which is the sum over Q from 0 to n, where n is the complex dimension of the target manifold, minus 1 to the Q times log of Ray-Singer torsion for particular bundle, which is a Q space of Q0 forms. So I should make some remark about how this can be justified. Why this is something like that is true. Now, this seems to be contrary, in fact, to what I was claiming. I was claiming earlier that in the Bay model, Q invariant computation reduced to integral over complex constant maps. So therefore, it should be integral over the target space manifold. But this is not an integral over target space manifold. So what's going on? The reason that is the reason for that is that I said that this, so F1 is an integral of omega 1 over moduli space of genus 1 surface, and omega is invariant under D, which is D plus Q acting on omega. And on the other hand, it is Q for which the fixed point is a constant map. There is a small difference between Q and D plus Q. Namely, they differ by the exterior derivative on the moduli space of Riemann surface. And because of that, in fact, if you consider the case when computation involves integral, there is a slight difference between these two. Now, remember, in the case of genus 1, when we considered this, this was rather special because this did not mean this moduli space of this is point. Moduli space of genus 0 with 3 point is a point, so we didn't have to do integral. So in that case, these two are the same thing. dq and dq, this q and d plus q are the same thing. So in that was why in this case, in fact, things reduced to just integral over the target space manifold. But because of that, it's a little bit more sophisticated. But still, it's reduced to this determinant like quantum field theory computation, because the difference between these two essentially come from the boundary of the moduli space of torus. So that means that instead of doing the general Riemann surface computation, we just consider the case when the torus degenerate to very thin line going around, very thin loop going around it. And this is nothing but the Feynman diagram. Of quantum field theory. So what it means is that B model computation in higher genus reduced to quantum field theory computation rather than string theory computation. And in particular, genus 1 computation in quantum field theory is a computation of determinant of Laplacian. So that's the explanation. Now let's go to the higher genus. By the way, so I should mention important punchline. The reason I wanted to go over this genus 1 computation in particular was that this result has been confirmed by mathematicians. So at the beginning of my lecture in the morning, I said that one of the possible interactions physicists can have with mathematicians, there are two actually. One is that where mathematicians can come up with useful tool for theorists to use, and that of course is great for us. But we can also try to return that by formulating some interesting conjecture that mathematicians may want to go on and prove. And in fact, the conjecture about genus 1 has been proven recently by mathematicians. Using this B model computation, we made a conjecture about the genus 1 Gromov-Witten invariant. And this conjecture was very beautifully proven recently by Zinger within Stony Brook in the case of quintic threefold, which is basically solution. So in the case when the manifold M is a solution to this equation in CP4, and some generalization of that Zinger derived this computation from rigorous mathematical way and confirmed our conjecture based on the mirror symmetry. And on the other hand, in the B, we also, this mirror symmetry between the two computations also implied conjecture about certain behavior of determinant of Laplacian near the boundary of modular space of complex structure. And that behavior comes from consistency with this type of formula. And that was also recently proven by Fang, Liu, and Yoshioka. And so there are some interesting mathematical conjectures that you can formulate out of this type of physics reasoning. Now let me go on to higher genus. So in the case of higher genus, the story is very similar. So we have genus G computation, which is essentially given by, in the case of A model, this type of computation. Plus a lower general contribution. So this is the genus G Gromov-Witten invariant. And then, just like in the case of genus 1, there are contributions from degenerate Riemann surface, which contains contribution from Gromov-Witten invariants of lower general. And okay, so I have to tell you what these are. So this is a Chern class of Hodge bundle of a moduli space of Riemann surface. And this thing was computed by Faber and Panda-Haripanda. It's expressed in terms of zeta function and Bernoulli number that I don't have time to write down. And in the case of in the case of B model, it's from some Feynman diagram. The nature of the Feynman diagram is actually not well understood, even for physicists standard. And so that prevents us from directly computing both sides and compare just like we did over here. So I think that this side need improvement. The structure suggests that this has to do with quantization of Kodaira-Spencer theory of the formation of complex structures. So if you, in some sort of crude way, if I identify Lagrangian for the Kodaira-Spencer theory and try to quantize it, you seem to reproduce a Feynman diagram with correct structure. Although that's very crude even for physicist standards, so it's quite appropriate to discuss during this Takagi lecture. So we don't have a direct way of computing it just like we did for genus 1, but there are alternative methods. And one of the methods we developed was called holomorphic anomaly equation. So this is again related to that story that we have a difference between Q versus this. So this will be a symmetry of conformal field theory. This will be the symmetry of the measure for string theory amplitude. And there is a slight difference between the two because of this D. And which gives you which can give non-trivial contribution from the boundary of modular space of Riemann surface, because this is a derivative operator. And so one of the ways that this difference manifests itself is that if you look at this kind of formula, you see that these looks like holomorphic function of T, but in fact there are some subtle anti-holomorphic dependence of Fg on the modular space of Calabi-Yau manifold, and that shows up in an equation like that, that if I take anti-holomorphic derivative of genus G surface, then it can be expressed in terms of the genus 0 3-point amplitude that I wrote earlier, Kähler form, Kähler potential, and metric, and then derivatives of lower general amplitude. So you can derive this kind of recursion relation of genus G amplitude. If you look at it, you see that on the left-hand side we have genus G amplitude, but on the right-hand side we have genus G minus 1 amplitude or lower genus. So in some sense this is a recursion equation with respect to G. So you can hope to sort of integrate this equation to obtain higher genus topological string amplitude.
So this equation by using comparing this and this and comparing some expansion and using the homological perturbation theory or so on, then this equation.
So the way we derived this one?
No, okay, yeah.
The way we derived this one was that if integrand, so Fg is given by integral of omega g over moduli space of genus G surfaces, and if omega g were invariant under Q, then this will be holomorphic. So right hand side will be 0.
So this is
but this is not that. So this D give rise to contribution from boundary of moduli space, and these are contribution from boundary of moduli space, where this corresponds to degeneration of one of the handle, and this corresponds to degeneration of surfaces into two sides.
So this looks like something like the molecular perturbation theory, something like the equation of the homology.
Yeah, so this could be derivable from Feynman diagram kind of computation. In fact, the genus 1 case, it is exactly that. So there is a genus 1 version of this holomorphic anomaly equation, which in the case of B model coincides with Quirin's anomaly for Raysinger torsion. You know that determinant of log of determinant of Laplacian has Quirin's anomaly. And you can show that the Quirin's anomaly for this one actually coincides with genus 1 version of holomorphic anomaly equation.
I'm sorry. Please, go ahead.
Yeah. And this is useful, but there is also some limitation because this is holomorphic. So this is Delbard something. So that means that you can add holomorphic function to it and still satisfy the same equation. So in order to fix the holomorphic part, you need to know the behavior of f of g near the boundary of moduli space. And combine, by using various information about the boundary of behavior of fg near the boundary of modular space, group of Albrecht, Clem, and others have shown that you can go pretty far. So for example, in the case of quintic, they show that in principle you can go to genus 51 by integrating this holomorphic anomaly equation. But they found that the existing information about f of g on the behavior near the behavior of the behavior of f of g near the boundary modular space is not sufficient to go beyond the genus 51. And so I hope that there will be more sort of information available for this kind of thing, so that we can go to even higher genus. So I guess I have 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to spend 10 minutes on open-closed string duality and another 10 minutes on black holes. And so let me talk about open-closed string duality. Because I think it's an interesting subject and also sometimes misunderstood. So I'd like to state that. So the story is like that. So I mentioned in the morning that we can also consider open topological string. So open topological string amplitude depends on the genus, but also the number of boundaries. So you can consider, instead of considering just closed string without the boundary, we can consider open string with some boundaries, and then there are associated to it some number of boundaries like that, and then I specify, parameterize the boundary condition by these symbols. And we can say that N1 is the number of boundaries of epsilon1 E1 type. And then this is the number of boundaries of EK type. So for each of these choice of boundary condition, we can consider topological string amplitude. So these are open topological string amplitude. Now, open closed string duality can be formulated in the following way. What we do is that for each type of boundary conditions, I introduce some parameter t, and then consider generating function. Just basically summing over all possible number of boundaries. Okay, so the conjecture is that in some nice cases, there is so this is defined for some Calabi-Yau manifold M with prescribed boundary condition. And the conjecture is that there is another Calabi-Yau manifold. So this is now a family of Calabi-Yau manifold, parameterized by parameter t, so that the closed string amplitude on M tilde t is equal to Fg of t, which is given by summing over open string amplitude. So that's the conjecture. So in the lecture note that was distributed today, I gave you a couple of examples. Given the time constraint, I won't be able to go through, and then presented some computation which sort of provides some evidence for it. But given the time constraint, I'm just going to state the result. So let's just give you an example. So let's take M to be cotangent space of S3. So cotangent space of S3 is, you can introduce a complex structure and Kähler structure, and in fact the first term class is 0. So this is an example of Calabi-Yau manifold. Albite non-compact case. So then, so we have S3. So let's consider open string theory on this space. And the kind of open string I consider is that we have a Riemann surface, can have a boundary, and boundary always sits on the base S3. So the total space is cotangent space of S3, and then there's a base S3, and the good thing about S3 is a Lagrangian submanifold. Of T star of S3, and the good thing is that because of that we can consider A model in this kind of setup. In order for the boundary condition to be consistent, you have to choose a Lagrangian submanifold. And what I mean by that is that you consider all holomorphic, so all kind of map from genus Riemann surface with boundary into cotangent space, but in such a way that boundary always sits on the base S3. So that's particular choice of boundary condition.
This is the A model.
This is A model.
In AD is condition on the B model.
Yeah, if you give me 5 minutes,
Okay.
5 more minutes, I can give you conjecture for B model also, which is a beautiful thing too, but I don't have time to do that. So you can have genus G with n number of boundaries sitting on the base S3. So that's A model computation. And so to apply the conjecture, we can consider summing over all the boundaries. And this computation was done by Gopakuma and Baffa, and they found the following beautiful formula. You can see this part, right? Let me bring this up. So this is sort of brute force computation. You can compute fg of n defined in that way, and then consider generating function on that fellow. And it turns out that this is given by integral of product of some Chang class of Hodge bundle over moduli space of genus G surface, and then chi of G is the Euler characteristic of the moduli space times this quantity. And this quantity turns out to be exactly the closed topological string amplitude on resolved conifold. That is, that we consider a space defined, so say for example, an equation like this. So this is a singular space, but we can consider small resolution of this space. And then T turns out to be the parameter for the small resolution. Namely, you can blow up small p1 on this space to resolve the singularity. And the Kähler class of that p1 is T. So in this particular example, the parameter for the generating function for the number of boundary turns into the Kähler class of grown up p1. Okay, so that's an example. So in this case, therefore, computation. You see that manifolds are different. Here, cotangent space of S3, which turned into resolved conifold. And here we are considering open string, and here we are considering closed string. So there is some kind of duality between the two computations. And there is also a very interesting story about B model that you asked about, and I'll be happy to discuss that. And in that case, there's a story, in some particular case, a story has to do with the random matrix model. So you have integral over random matrices, and often random matrices are solved by studying the distribution of eigenvalues of matrices. And it turns out that that distribution of eigenvalue has to do with the Calabi-Yau geometry of the dual Calabi-Yau manifold. So that's another story I didn't have time to tell you. And yet another story is that the relation to ADS-CFT correspondence. ADS-CFT correspondence is another very important development of string theory in recent years, and that involves open and closed string duality. And recently some idea have emerged that perhaps that can be proven also using similar idea. So, so that is going to be also a very interesting story in coming years. So I'm sorry to rushing towards the end, but I cannot end this lecture without few mention of black holes. So let me say a few words about black holes. So the black hole is also, of course, a very interesting object. It's one of the very special things that happen to general relativity. And one of the very interesting things about black hole is that it's supposed to carry large number of quantum states. And classically, black holes are a very simple thing. In fact, there is a theorem known as no-hair theorem in classical general relativity, which says that black hole is essentially featureless, that it's only classically specified by mass, angular momentum, and electric and magnetic charges. And there are no other parameters that parameterize black hole. But on the other hand, quantum mechanically, it is believed that it has large number of black hole and large number of quantum states. So for example, if you have a black hole of mass about 10 to the 31 kilogram, which is a typical mass of black hole that we observe in the universe, then the number of quantum states for such black hole is supposed to be E to the 10 to the 78. And if the string theory is a consistent theory of quantum gravity, then one should be able to quantize this black hole, count the number of states, and reproduce this number. So that's supposed to be a challenge. And we have not developed a technology strong enough to compute this for astrophysical black hole, but we have way of doing that for simple type of black hole. So that's what I want to tell you. So in string theory, we think that where 10 is 4 plus 6. So we have 4-dimensional space-time that we live. And then we have Calabi-Yau manifold. So, one way that we can construct black holes are following. So in order to construct a black hole, we have to create something very massive. And some of the massive objects we have in string theory are d-branes. So what we do is that, well, suppose you have some submanifold. Say, in the case of, let's consider a particular type of string called 2A, where we consider holomorphic submanifold, and then wrap d-brane on it, in the same sense that I said in the case of topological string. Namely, we allow string to end on this submanifold, and then extend it in this direction, in time direction, in our space-time. Okay? So this is a submanifold of 4 plus 6-dimensional space. Namely, time direction with fixed point in 3-dimensional space times this submanifold. Okay? So that's the locus of d-brane. And if you put large number of d-branes on it, this becomes very heavy object. Start carving the space-time around it and make black hole. Okay? So the good thing about this construction is that you can count the number of states of this particular construction. Because in some cases, you can do this counting using gauge theory that lives on d-brane. So for example, the technique that developed by Nakajima-san and other people can be used to estimate the number of states for this particular construction. And then you can try to compare that with gravity expectation about the number of quantum states. But the problem with this kind of approach is that it is often difficult to do the computation for very heavy black holes, because the gauge theory becomes strongly coupled for reasons that I don't have time to explain. On the other hand, gravity side of this computation is difficult for small black hole, because what happens is that when the black hole is small, the curvature near the horizon of the black hole becomes strong, and then some of the technique of general relativity breaks down. So you have to start introducing stringy effect, string theory effect, which in particular include computation of higher genus amplitude. And great thing about the recent progress is, one of the great recent progress is that you can use topological string amplitude to do this computation. So when I was studying this topological string 15 years ago, started doing that 15 years ago, so this was regarded as some kind of toy model. That's nice mathematics, But what's the use of that for physics? So in some sense, we were looking for. So we had a solution. In some sense, we had an answer, but we didn't know what the interesting physics question were for this answer. And recently, one possible answer, the question appeared in the form of black hole. Namely, we found that you can use this topological string amplitude to estimate the number of quantum states of black hole. So let me just write down the formula for that and end this lecture. So let me do the following thing. So suppose. So I said that in the case of in that particular case of D model, interesting D branes are Lagrangian threefold, and so their topologies are specified by 3 cycles. So let's consider the following thing. So suppose we have a 3 plus 1 dimensional hour space times Calabi-Yau, and on Calabi-Yau there are various types of 3 cycles, which are specified by these homologies that I introduced earlier. So I say that let's wrap P, let's put P D brane on this cycle and Q D branes on this cycle. That means that we allow boundary to end on this particular cycle, but weights that with a weight P. So each time string ends on this particular boundary, we weight that with weight P, and we weight that with weight Q, and then extended it in time direction. Okay? So this gives rise to some particular type of black hole which carries electric and magnetic charges in 4 dimensions. And let's call this sigma PQ to be the number of quantum states. Okay? We can also formulate this in the language of gauge theory. Basically, this is asking a question of number of states for gauge theory with particular. So you Q gauge group on this particular cycle. And
gauge theory on where?
Gauge theory defined on the 3 cycle on Calabi-Yau. But these cycles are intersecting. So therefore, there can be interaction between different gauge theory at the intersections. And gauge group for particular cycle is given by UP. Some other cycles are given by UQ, etc. So you can essentially formulate it in terms of, in some cases, computation of Euler characteristic or modular space of instanton for gauge theory and things like that. So there are certain mathematical formulation of this computation also. But this turned out to be related to topological string computation by Laplace transform. So essentially, so we keep P, but we do Laplace transform for Q, sum over I, is given by exponential of minus f of x square, where f of x is sum over topological string amplitude for all genera, where xi is a period of holomorphic map, a period of holomorphic 3 form of alpha cycle, and its dual cycle is given by this formula I wrote earlier. And left-hand side depends on P and phi. So it turns out that in order to complete this equation, I have to give you a relation between P, phi, and x. And that's given by this formula, that x is given by Pi plus I of phi I, which in physics literature is called attractor equation. So I do not think that I made any attempt to explain this to mathematician, so I apologize for it. But I had to end this lecture with just a hint that there are some interesting, possibly interesting mathematics that I discussed in this 2 lecture may have also relevant physics application, in particular about the mystery of quantum gravity involving black holes and such objects. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Maybe ちょっと紹介するときに言えばよかったのは今忘れたので今言いますけど、大水さんは今年の初めにアメリカ数学会の第1回アイゼンバット賞、
はい、そうですね。
大水さんとバッハとストロミンギャで、大抵その業績がこれですか、ね、
そうですね。
これだと思いますので、一応どうもありがとうございます。どうぞ、はい。